Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And my name is Jake LeCure. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
Well, the markets had a very overnight tight range here. Only 4.5 points. We're trading down just a buck right now at 1676.75. High has been 1678.75, low 1674.25. So very tight overnight here. We have had some good earnings reports there. Jake, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
Well, not too bad, but I heard Coke had weather problems there, and they're disappointing here on the street.
Um, you know, we did catch that in the earnings report. The bottom line earnings came in line at 63 cents. On the top line, they missed a little bit, 12.75 billion versus expected 12.97 billion. The Coca-Cola CFO ended up coming on to CNBC to talk about the miss and ended up saying that one of the major reasons that they were having troubles on the top line was due to a colder spring and summer in certain areas. So I guess bad weather means they sell less Coke. I still feel like if I'm going to McDonald's, I'm going to be getting a Coke with my burger, but I guess I'm wrong.
People don't like to drink an icy cold Coke in the bad weather. Yeah, so the headline, Gary Fayard, the CFO there on CNBC, says weather around the world impacted sales. That it's been too cold for Coke. That's interesting in itself. Bring up the chart of Coke there, JKO, and we will do a little technical for you guys. It actually is selling off here this morning. Just waiting for the chart there, JKO.
Yep, pull it up. There
So
we
you
go.
can see here in the pre-market, we spiked. I don't know why we spiked up there right off the hop of 41.77. Maybe it was trading. It was trading up a little bit before the report. I think that actually was
Yeah,
before the
a couple of
report.
ticks up there. Yeah.
Yeah, it ticked up. I don't know. Somebody got excited, thought the weather was going to be better, I guess, for Coke, and bought it up to 41.77. It has obviously sold off significantly since this report because of the inline earnings and the revenue miss and the weather comments. The stock traded down to as low as 39.49, has bounced back. Those whole numbers acting like a magnet right now. It's come back to the $40 area here. So keep an eye if you're trading in the regular session, that 39.49 low. It provides some support here in the pre-market. Maybe it provides a little bit of support in the regular session as well. Pepsi having a sympathy move here. Bring up the chart of Pepsi. We are down 50 cents on the Pepsi. It ticked up and actually just traded a few shares higher, just 200 shares up there at 85.20 before the Coke earnings came down and obviously knocked the price down here of Pepsi as well. So Pepsi, obviously, if it's bad weather for Coke, I guess it's bad
Yeah,
weather for
must be bad
Pepsi.
weather for Pepsi as well.
So,
Yeah,
so
I get you.
Pepsi's trading down 50 cents right now at 84.20. I just wanted to cite that big $85 level on Pepsi. That's been major resistance. That's up there near the all-time high. If for whatever reason Pepsi goes into rally mode, I can see 100,000 shares in the New York book offered up at 85. So you know those high-frequency guys, they love to lean on that size. They'll probably be in the 84.90s, but I don't think Pepsi is going to get up there today unless we have a real reversal in Coke here too. We've had some other big earnings reports here too. Jake, how'd Goldman do?
Oh man, Goldman really knocked it out of the park on this report. I mean, I feel like they do tend to kind of sandbag things, but EPS came in at 282, just smashing estimates of $1.78 with revenues, looking pretty strong too. So Goldman with a very nice report there.
Yeah, the revenue is 8.61 billion versus 7.98 billion. So blew it away on the top, blew it away on the bottom. The stock is rallying here in the pre-market. It is up at 164.79. The only thing a lot of this priced in, Goldman's had a little run here into the earnings, so it's not up as much as you might think. It seems like Goldman always blows it away. So when they blow it away, it's actually not as unexpected as it is if another company does it. Some news algo looks like it got real excited though. If that's high is correct
Sure
at
did.
169. Man, there's some overshoots right on the news sometimes. There's a lot of participants that are running news algorithms and they just buy and they see this huge beat and they buy it off the hop right in the first second of reported earnings just from the headline numbers. Bought it all the way up, so it was up $6 if that tick is correct at 169. Obviously, it's pulled back down to reality here now, and I think it's finding its home here in the 164 handle, slowly drifting up here in the pre-market.
I think it's kind of interesting to note real quick, and this is something that one of our other analysts brought up right as the earnings happened. It's Goldman's book value per share right now is 151.21. So it's not trading that much above book value right now, despite that huge beat. So a lot of it is not necessarily sentiment, but it's seriously just what the company's worth right now.
So Goldman up a couple bucks, and you do have the other financials trading up a little bit here. Morgan Stanley, which is the closest stock, obviously, to Goldman, is trading up about 20 cents off that Goldman beat. Just to cite resistance in Morgan Stanley, the high, the 52-week high, 27.17, set back on June the 10th. I don't know if we'll challenge that today, but we're only 30 cents away from there, so maybe if it continues to rally here, we could get up there to that 52-week high of 27.17. Also, another big gun reported here in the S&P top 10, Johnson and Johnson. And Johnson, how'd they do there, Jake?
Johnson & Johnson did come in pretty strong there. EPS coming in at $1.39. Let me pull up that report
It
real
was a
quick.
dollar
But
48, yeah, dollar 48 versus the dollar 39.
$1.48 versus $1.39. My mistake there. It did come in strong on the bottom line and top line there, but the guidance was just not looking that strong. They guided for the fiscal year 2013, 535 to 545. The previous guidance was 540 to 547. Analysts on the street were looking for 542. So on the bottom line, they did have a nice beat, and on the top line, revenues came in at 17.9 billion versus expected 17.71 billion, but that guidance just not looking too strong.
Well, it actually is an increase though when I'm just looking at it here. It's five because it was 535 to 540, I think and it's going up to 540 to 547. So a slight increase. But I love it.
Yeah, slightly. Yeah.
But I love it when they say, "Oh, we're increasing guidance," and they increase it by like 2 cents. So I don't know, like why that
On a
bother.
$5 guidance.
Yeah,
So,
they're just
yeah.
trying. They just want to be able to say we're increasing guidance, but when you increase it 2 cents on a $5, I mean, really, do we really care about your 2 cent guidance increase? So, but the market is trading higher. They did beat on the top, they did beat on the bottom, and they did have the 2 cent increase in guidance, and it is trading at a new all-time high here this morning. It's trading over that $91 critical psychological level that could provide a little resistance maybe off the hop, but it's finding its home right around 91. These whole numbers do act like magnets in the pre-market. It just ticked to 91.10, but it has been as high as 91.31. So I think if you get up here and it continues to rally, I'd look at the next handle, not so much the 91 handle, but the 92 handle. If we get up into the high 91s, I think there'll be a big roadblock possibly at 92, just because we haven't been up there ever. So I wouldn't be surprised if some institutions are sitting, sell me some at 91, sell me some at 92, sell me some at 93, and I bet you're going to see some big institutional seller probably up at 92. So if it continues to rally up, again, those high frequency guys, they sniff out those institutional orders, and sometimes those act like roadblocks, and the high frequency guys will probably be offering it in the 91, high 91s, like in the 91.90s. So I'd expect some resistance, high frequency resistance, up in the 91.90s today. Couple other smaller companies reported here too. You got Mosaic reporting, MOS. They actually beat or actually they missed by a penny, $1.14 versus $1.15, and the revenue was just a slight beat, 2.69 billion versus 2.67 billion. Symbol MOS on that one. The stock is trading up 40 cents here right now in the pre-market at 56.55. So if we go to the pre-market chart, that's been the high. It's actually traded very light volume here, though, only 2,700 shares in the pre-market, which is typical for Mosaic after an earnings report. It doesn't trade a lot until the regular session starts. Just going to the charts and looking at the technicals, the high you got to back just on the 11th of July, which is 3 trading sessions ago, was 56.97. That could be a little initial resistance there because 2 days ago, you had a high of 56.82, and the day before that, you had a high of 56.77. So you've got 3 highs within 16 cents of each other. So that little area would call a little bit of a triple top, kind of a triple top, I guess, in this little decimal-laden world. So that area could provide some initial resistance for you off the hop. If it gets above there, it does start to open up, though. Jake, you got any thoughts on Mosaic?
I mean, it was a decent report, nothing crazy, but I would be surprised if we broke through that 56.97 level. I just don't think, I don't think the report was strong enough to warrant us breaking through it. But I've been wrong before.
CMA also reported earnings, which is Comerica. The stock really hasn't traded at all here this morning, so traded only 600 shares, but they did beat 76 cents versus 70, so 6 cent beat here for Comerica. It's actually a pretty tight range here for Comerica. 41.40 bid, 41.60 offer, so it looks like they're pricing this right about flat right now. I will note last night, I always take notes of this because I trade after hours. I stay up all night for all you guys out there. Just kidding. But anyways, I do trade after hours, and I did notice that there was a 25,000 share seller at 41.50 last night. So somebody did not want to take the stock into the earnings report. They did beat, though. That guy I don't think got done there last night. He sat out there for the entire after hours session trying to dump his 25,000 shares. I don't know if he's going to be a little bit nervous here this morning because 25,000 shares is significant for a stock like Comerica. So if he's nervous out there a little bit right off the hop, we'll have to see if the stock holds up here or not. But somebody was nervous last night taking into the report, and they didn't get filled. So we'll see. That guy's still kicking around here today. We do have a couple big reports here tonight. What do we got on tap there tonight there, Jakey?
We certainly we have YHOO. I mean, that's probably the biggest name after the close. They're expected to do 30 cents on the bottom line versus 27 cents prior. Revenue is supposed to be exactly in line with what they did on their prior report, which is 1.08 billion. So not any incredibly inflated estimates there for YHOO, but should be interesting. I'll pull up their chart there so you can take a look at that as well.
Yeah, if you look at the technicals here, it did tick up to 27.58 here in the pre-market session. We closed at 27.34. The bogey that I'm looking at here, at least for today, ahead of the earnings, is 27.68 because that's the 52-week high. That was set back on May the 15th, so that's probably going to be your initial resistance for today. Obviously, off the earnings report, this thing could move around a buck or two, so I don't know if that number has that much relevance after today, but if you're trading it just today ahead of time, the 27.68 could provide a little bit of initial resistance if they're looking at that high. We also have CSX reporting here tonight. What are they expecting there, Jake? Do you have the numbers?
We're expecting an EPS of 47 cents versus 49 cents prior. Revenues expected to come in at 3.02 billion versus a prior report of 3.01 billion. So slight growth on the top line expected, while a little bit of a decline on the bottom line there.
And this moving on here, because we don't want to run short here. We're running a little bit short on time. Did want to mention here, we're going to go up to the upgrades and downgrades. And actually, GM and Ford, Goldman Sachs they're putting on a pair trade here, it looks like, because they are adding GM to their conviction buy list and removing Ford from their conviction buy list. So GM is trading up 40 cents here in the pre-market, and Ford is trading down about 20 cents. So GM up a little over a percent, Ford down a little bit over a percent. GM actually here finding its home here right under 37. These big hole numbers always seem to run into trouble, especially in the pre-market session. It did spike above there just briefly, but for the most part it's been trading just under 37 in the 36.90s. And Ford has been trading just under the $17 hole number in the 16.90s here in the pre-market session. So it looks like you're going to see some weakness in Ford today. Looks like you're going to see a little bit of strength in GM. We've also got a couple other ones, downgrades. We got Buffalo Wild Wings getting downgraded at Baird, and BWLD is trading. Actually, there's no trades to report here as of yet in the pre-market, but it is offered down. It's offered down at 103.75 after closing at 105.05. The best bid is down at 97.55. I don't think it's going to fall down there, but it does look like it's probably going to open down a couple of bucks on this downgrade here. And this stock's been on a tear. I always find it interesting when the analysts come out and downgrade a stock that just made a 52-week high. So I guess that's what they're supposed to do, is buy or sell high, buy low type of deal. So I guess Baird is doing that, but more often than not, a lot of times these ones that are making new 52-week highs that get downgrades, sometimes that offers you a buying opportunity on a stock that's been very strong. Buffalo Wild Wings downgraded. We've also got DFS, which is Discover Financial. That's getting downgraded this morning at JP Morgan. DFS trading down about 50 cents here in the pre-market at 49.75. Light volume here again, 1,300 shares. Best bids at 49.65. Best offers up at 50 bucks. So it looks like they're going to knock about 1% off the price of DFS with this JP Morgan downgrade. The last one I just want to mention was Interactive Brokers. It's getting upgraded at Keefe Bruyette this morning. They do report earnings tonight. Jake, do you have the Interactive Brokers expectations in front of you, IBKR? Jakey.
Yeah, let me pull those up
Okay.
real quick.
While Jake
Um,
pulls that up, I'll just do a quick technical while he gets those expectations for tonight. Because Interactive Brokers actually had a pretty wild range there yesterday. It had a steep sell-off there, and I'm not sure what there's news on that yesterday or not. But basically, it opened up around 1675, and in 3 hours gave back almost a buck, which is a big move. So maybe somebody was nervous or whatever going into the report tonight. I'm not sure, but it got down to as low as
here comes the
1590
CPI.
and then bounce back. What's the expectations there you've got there on that, Jake? IBKR. So, and actually just doing the technicals, continuing with it. So it bounced back, closed fairly strong, up at 1641, and it is getting that upgrade, pushing up to 1667. But what I want to highlight is you've had multiple highs up here in this whole 1675 to 1690 area. It looks to me like you're going to open into that resistance today. So obviously that's a setup there when you're opening, up in an upgrade, up 2-3% into resistance. Sometimes gets you set up there to either initiate a short or lighten up a
CPI
long.
for June coming in up 0.5%. Economists were looking for a 0.3% gain. Core CPI for the month was up 0.2%. That was right in line. CPI year over year for the month was up 1.8%. Better than expected. Economists were looking for 1.6% gain. And core CPI for June year over year was up 1.6%. That was right in line.
Thanks, Brent, for those numbers. Spoos have sold off about a buck on that. It's put a little bit of chop into the trade. We're just chopping around here. We're down 2.25 now. Very, very light still volume here and light trade here today. Actually, I believe yesterday was the lightest volume day of the year. Was that right? Did you hear that too, Jake? Because I didn't check
Um,
that, but I heard somebody say that.
it wouldn't surprise me, but then again, I haven't heard that specifically though.
Yeah, so anyways, we've had light volume here in this earnings season thus far, only a few days into it, but we're bouncing around here just a little bit here, down 2 points on the E-mini futures there. Um, we do have a merger here, SHFL getting acquired, and it's actually just started trading, which is SHL, Shuffle Entertainment, getting acquired by BYI, which is Bally Technologies, for 23.25 a share in cash. So SHFL trading right now up at 22.70, fairly active. It looks to be like that's probably going to be where it's going to obviously trade at, is just 30, 40 cents or 50 cents down from the acquisition price of 23.25. Pretty active there, up 21%. But BYI is trading up here as well. I always find it interesting when both the acquirer and the acquiree both trade up. It made a new 52-week high yesterday ahead of this merger. BYI is now trading up here again this morning. Very light volume, only 300 shares. Is bid up at 62.05, close to 60.91. Jake, can we just get that chart of BYI actually? Just bring that up so we can just look at that
Yeah, sure.
52-week high. Stock obviously trading up here in the pre-market as well. So looks like both these stocks are going to open up here. Also got, just wanted to highlight a couple other things before we end the show. MPC, which is Marathon Petroleum, did warn last night. They gave a Q2 update. Their guidance is a little bit lower than what was expected, and MPC actually getting beat up pretty good here this morning. We're down a buck and a half on it at 71.45. We've been as low as 70.30. I'll tell you, there's lots of support probably down there in the low 70s. The 71.45, not so much, but we had a nice bottom forming around 68, but that's way out of here. But 70 bucks, I think that big hole number probably providing some support if the sell-off in MPC does continue. We do have some big earnings reports here tonight too, just to mention to you guys, or I'm sorry, we have some big reports tomorrow. We already mentioned the ones tonight. We got Bank America reporting tomorrow, which is BAC. We've got Intel reporting tomorrow, INTC. We got IBM reporting tomorrow. We've got eBay reporting tomorrow. We've got American Express reporting tomorrow. So we've got lots of earnings here tomorrow coming up. Obviously, kind of a broad range too. We've got some financials. We've got some tech stocks. So it will be interesting. I'll just talk briefly about IBM here again because it is one of our major S&P components. IBM actually did have a pretty decent day yesterday. Just want to highlight on the technicals that it did put in a potential double bottom on July 12th, which is just 2 days ago. We had a low of 190.159. Yesterday we had a low of 190.168, only 9 cents apart on a $190 stock. I'll call that a potential double bottom. So that, can sometimes be a bullish signal here. If for whatever reason people want to own this going into the earnings report, IBM could show a little bit of strength today. Obviously, we have major support down there if we get down that 191.5 area, but I don't know if we'll see that today because we're now $2 away from there. Jake, are there any closing thoughts here you've got for our traders out there?
I think as we're heading into earnings here, I think that's just really going to start dominating the markets. We were really having a couple weeks there where it was primarily running on the macro sentiment, whether it's from overseas or from the United States, and I think finally it's going to switch more over to a micro focus. So I think this is a pretty big week to see how this earnings season is going to be panning out. So definitely looking forward to tomorrow and seeing how names like American Express and IBM and Intel end up panning out.
Well, that's our show for today, guys. Have a great trading session. We'll be back with you on all those earnings tomorrow.